would just like to let you know that after the conference, Peter has agreed to send us the slideshow he used for the presentation this morning. So that will be on msmta.com over the coming weeks if you look there for that information. I would also like to once again thank Missoula Community Access Television for the huge service they've done us in granting their time recording today's session. So would you please thank them? A round of applause. And of course, I'd like to thank the fellows out at Steinway once again who've been so generous in transporting all of those pianos from Spokane for our use this weekend. So thank you very much to them again. And one other special person I would like to thank is Julian Jazacek, who's gone above and beyond as our driver for Peter this weekend and a host of other favors. So thank you so much, Julian. I appreciate it. All right, with that, I'll turn it over to Peter and we'll get started.
Okay. Get it pinned up here. Maybe a little higher. Okay, so I hope you're not tired of me pontificating. You know, it's a lot of information. You know, these are things that I've thought about over my years of teaching, about the score and of course about Beethoven, and talking about the use of time in music, which is rhythm, right? And so you can see that I only pick small topics, you know, just minor little things, like how do we use time in music and so on. So as usual, I have some kind of an outline that I worked out and some musical examples, so you should have 2 pieces of paper. And it overlaps a little bit with what I talked about earlier today, that tempo giusto is my religion, finding the right tempo. And let's see, I will need 1 piece of equipment. Tempo giusto, the right tempo. This machine is fantastic because it can house a metronome, right? And you know, the metronome has gone through quite an evolution. When it first came in around when Beethoven was, you know, in the middle time, around 1815, Mr. Melzel, and he was one of those back and forth guys that sometimes malfunctioned. They would go like maybe da-dam, 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 da-dam. So they changed with air pressure and all kinds of things. So it was unreliable, but Beethoven was very excited about the metronome because he said, finally, I can tell everybody the tempos I want. And he went around and he put metronome markings on every symphony, every movement. But you have to remember, he was deaf. So he couldn't hear the metronome. All he could do is see the thing going back and forth. And sometimes I think they're a little bit weird. Maybe the machine was, you know, they were not that reliable. And you had to be wound up, right? All that stuff. So there's only one sonata that had a metronome marking, that's the Hammerklavier. And he really wanted to set the tempo for that one. It's marked Allegro maestoso, maybe. So he starts singing the beginning of it. It's like, tam, padam, pidaram, pom, bim, padam, pidaram, pom. He says, oh, that's a good tempo. So he goes, pom, 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 pom. He marks it 138 to the first movement, and every movement. And I think it's unplayable at that tempo. Maybe it's just me, you know. Probably Stuart Goodyear can play it at that tempo. But I think what's wrong with it is that it makes the movement sound kind of like really frantic. And I think the movement is very majestic and noble. So 138 to the half note, I think it is. Bim padam pidadam pom, pom padam pidadam pom. It's too fast. It's just too fast. And people have argued about that particular sonata back and forth. Some people try to play it at that tempo. I think it sounds, like they jacked up the music or something like that. There's a famous scholar. His name is Paul Badura Skoda. I just met him about a month ago. He was in Oberlin. He's quite elderly. But he wrote an article about that, saying that he thought that Beethoven's metronome was about 25% fast. So he reduced everything. This is 138. I played 116 for the first movement. Let me see. Oh, let's go away. Don't do that. It's doing weird stuff. Come on. Stage mode. I don't know how to find it. Julian? Why does it have this stuff on it? Because I don't want it.
I don't know.
You don't know? Okay. We'll turn it off and try it again. You see how wonderful it is?
I have a metronome too.
Progress. It should be back to normal, right?
There it is.
I played 116, first movement. I like it. We're going to talk a little bit about metronome today because it's like tempo. Ding pom, pim pom, pim pom, pee. It's fast. Pim pom, pee. But it's very grand. And 138 is, where is it? Ding pom, pim pom, pee. But it's no good. Sounds like some kind of rallying march. Anyway, so a lot of composers use metronome markings, and we should always consult them if they're in the score, the original, not with the editor, but with the composer. Schumann uses them all the time, and I think we should reserve the right to disagree. Sometimes it just seems wrong to me, and that's like looking for tempo giusto. If it feels wrong, you have to kind of do some kind of adjustment. So I always consult them, but sometimes I really don't obey their markings, so that's me. So that's under C, there's the metronome. Locking in a tempo is really, I teach my students to do this. I think it's a good technique. I'm probably not alone doing it. I try to feel the right tempo. Let's see what's a good piece for that. Maybe Waldstein. So then I try to feel it just right. Feels good. Second theme might be changed a little bit. Once I got that, we've got this fantastic little thing, the tap. I used to have to look for it on the old metronome. Also, the old metronome only has certain numbers, 60, 63, 66. This one has 60, 61, 62, so it can go in between. I'm kind of attached to the old ones, but sometimes it's in between, So where was I? Good tempo, tap. Keep tapping, it says. I have 82 to the half note. There's one more step, though. You have to try it, because sometimes your thumb is like unreliable, something like that. So I always done taught it. Maybe 81. Just a little pushed. 80. A little slow. I like it, yeah. Good? So tapping is not enough. You have to try it and adjust because it's not the final thing. Also, tomorrow, if I have an extra cup of coffee, I might think this is too slow. So this one's good for today. So vowels time first movement, 80 to the half note. Now one more thing we need to try. Let's see. It's too fast. Pushes me. Maybe it. Maybe it works. I might adjust it down to something for the second theme. And that's okay. You know, there's little adjustments inside the movement, right? What was I going to say? The other thing about metronome, it's a machine. It has no soul, whatever. It just gives you the thing. So if you want a rubato, or you have certain note values that are slower kind of note values, it doesn't help you at all. Because if I want to play, oh, how I love you, remember? Oh, how. I might want to sit on the G sharp a little longer because I like it. And it's like, oh, but it won't let me. So the machine is best for things that are kind of continuous, like the beginning. That's great. But for that, it's like a stupid machine. However, I still love it, you know, even though it's, yeah. So that's the process, you know, you feel the tempo in your heart, oops, and then tap, 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 try it, fool around until it feels like it's just locked in, just locked in. It's a fantastic feeling, you know, you feel like you've got the pulse of the music, you know. And then you have to be flexible, you know. But the one thing about flexibility is that you have to come back to the original tempo eventually. You know, I always think like, this is a little weird example. It's like a pair of underpants. You know, you can stretch it and it'll come back, right? You can stretch it and it'll come back. You can stretch it. If it doesn't come back, it's time to throw it away, right? Sorry. Let's say a piece of elastic, okay? Yeah. You can to buy a new pair. It has to, it can be elastic, but it has to come back. The original pulse is so important, right? If it doesn't come back, then you've got a piece that's kind of like a piece of useless elastic, okay? We're going to use this again, so I'll just leave it here for now. In terms of the relationship between different parts, I just talked about Waldstein's second theme. Maybe it needs to stretch a little bit. My first example there is a beautiful piece. It's the G major Schubert Sonata. And it has different parts in the first movement that more or less need to agree with each other. I had 58, 60, and so on. But again, I'm kind of dissing one of my heroes, but it's unfortunate. It's Sviatoslav Richter, the greatest pianist of the 20th century, shall we say. When he got old, he got very, very slow. And he plays this piece it's on YouTube, you can see it, it's in Japan. He plays it half tempo, I think. Let's see. He's trying for something very broad, and it's like he. And he takes the repeat. So the first section of it lasts 20 minutes. I mean, it's just, so he's got an idea that this is just a kind of infinite kind of piece. But then if you get to the second theme, which is under B over there, at that tempo, it's like, that's just no good. And why is that no good? because it's Viennese music, right? It's like a little waltz music. I mean, that's just natural. So at his tempo, the sections just don't work. And he's got there's another section there. It's really beautiful. Richter tempo. I think it loses its character. So I don't know what he was trying for, but to me it's like a mistake. Sorry, Sviatoslav, excuse me. Please forgive me. I mean, he's one of the giants, right? But that one doesn't work. Tonight I'm playing a nocturne, and I've got a tempo problem. Okay, we're going to go through it a little bit. This is E major, late nocturne, is really beautiful. Actually kind of complex, quite contrapuntal. It's marked lento, sostenuto, right? So it's a slow tempo. And then there's a middle section that's much more agitated with 16th notes in it. So I try to find the right feeling for the first section, for the lento. Right? I think it flows. It's pretty lento, pretty sostenuto. Feels good to me. Now, if I use that tempo for the second section, it's too fast. So you have a choice. You can either slow down the first part, or you can slow down the second part. Is that what I'm thinking? So if I have that, let's see, I had it at 85 for the beginning. Let me see if it works. It's close to my 80 here. Move. That's first part. It's nice. It's slow, but it's also flowing. It's in E major, so it should have a kind of a floating quality. Second section at that tempo. It's just too fast for me. I didn't like it. So I had to find a tempo for that section. It's kind of a coda. It's really beautiful, like cello music, right? And that tempo that feels good to me is I wrote it down. 70, 71, let's see. And it's a little fast. Flows nicely. The next one is the same. It's agitato. So that one is, I have 70. The first tempo is 85. So now I'm going to go back to the first section. I'm playing at 70. I'm trying to be an honest broker here to kind of make them agree, right? Okay, first tempo, 70. Does it work? I'm trying to make it beautiful, but I just feel like I'm some kind of a straitjacket. It's too slow. So it just doesn't work for me. It's a dilemma, right? So I have two tempos in this piece. For the first section, 85. For the second section, 70. And again, it's a personal decision. I've heard it played at that tempo, very lento for the first part. I just find it kind of sluggish, soporific, because it's anything that's in sharp keys should be kind of floating. It's a nice flow to it, right? So it took me a long time to figure it out. In fact, at first I played it the way I felt it, and one of my friends said, your two tempos are completely different. So I put the metronome on, and they were. So I just had to struggle with it, and eventually I decided that's the way I feel. Tempo giusto for both sections. It's complicated. And this morning I talked a little bit about genre, right? It's really helpful. There's Goldberg variations. The genre helps you decide what kind of piece you're playing. Let's play a few marches. Man, I don't have them here. So we had sarabands this morning, right? Marches, maybe funeral. Right? Let's play every funeral. What other marches do we have? I wrote kind of a faraway nocturne from the C minor. Faraway march. There's a military march, why not, from Rachmaninoff Preludes. He's got a metronome marking on that. I don't remember what it is, but just about perfect. So that's a military march. What other kind of march do we have? Triumphant marches. From the Brahms Quintet. It's noble, majestic. You like that kind of thing. Does anybody know any Sicilianos? I marked one here. I love Siciliano. It's beautiful tempo. It's in 6/8, and it's got a nice little dotted rhythm. The Mozart is the A major sonata. The Siciliano, beautiful. Gorgeous, right? It helps to know that it's a Siciliano because it has a certain feel. There's Brahms likes Sicilianos quite a lot. In the Brahms Haydn variation, so beautiful. How's it go? It's a pam, pa pam, pam. Just beautiful. So that's helpful. French overture, do we know? Bach. Majestic kind of, the king is coming kind of thing. So the first movement of the Pathétique is a French overture type piece. That's the genre of it. It's a French overture. It's helpful. For example, the dotted rhythm in a French overture is usually double dotted because it's kind of pa-pam, pa-pam, pa-pam. In Bach, it's written like a 30-second, but it should be played 6. It's written, it should be, pa-pam. And in the Pathétique, I kind of double dot it a little bit because of the French of a. If you count it normal, like math, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, it's too it's too boring. It should be pa-pam, pa-pam, pa-pam. French overture. And there's, of course, Ländlers and minuets. I had an argument with Andras Schiff. I just like to take on the big guys, you know? Especially if they're dead, then it's easier. But he was alive, unfortunately. Not unfortunately. I talked to him about Ländler. I mean, the guy knows everything there is to know about everything. You know, he's a genius. I mean, he plays complete works of Bach, Haydn, Mozart, Beethoven, Schubert, Schumann, others. It's just like mind-boggling. But I told him that I thought the first variation in 109, third movement, is a Ländler. And a Ländler is a Viennese waltz. And he took great offense to that. He said, no, a Ländler is a peasant song that's very simple, and this is great Beethoven music. But I think it's a Ländler, a very divine and masterful Ländler, but nonetheless, the theme is that. So the 109, the first variation. I think it's a gorgeous, special, divine Austrian Ländler, which is an Austrian waltz. He didn't like it. He thought it was too cheap, but you know. We agreed to disagree eventually. We're still relatively friendly, I think. Anyway, so that's all helpful, right? Genre, what type of piece you're playing? Is it a minuet? The minuet from Ravel Sonatine is really lovely. However, it's just beautiful. But knowing that it's a minuet is helpful because it has graceful triple meter kind of thing. It's all useful. So now we know everything there is to know about tempo, right? We can, you know, I divide it into 4 categories: tempo, pulse, rhythm, and phrasing, all having to do with how to use time in our instrument, in our music, right? So the pulse has to do with how it feels inside, right? It's super important, and we talked about a little bit about the pair of underpants kind of thing. Different meters, you know, I think about triple meter. Here's one from Brahms Symphony No. 2, which I love. And at the bottom there, I said learning to conduct. And that's really kind of an important thing for us pianists to do, because we're alone and sometimes we don't have enough discipline. But Brahms Symphony is for big orchestra. So how do you start a triple meter for Brahms' Second Symphony, which is really beautiful? You have to give something like 1, 2, 3. It's kind of in a 3-ish 1, so it's tricky. 1 and if you go 1, 2, 3, it's too triply. So somehow some kind of subdivided 1 is nice. 1 and I mean, the Berlin Philharmonic can do it without conductor, so they don't need you. So you just go and horns. You can probably go into 1 after the start, but it needs some kind of a beat. Anyway, that's down the line there. Ti-do-dum, ti-ti-dum, ba-di-di-dum, di-da-di-da. Beautiful. Second theme. Di-da-da-da-di-da-dim. Same tempo. Di-da. And then it goes to the Viennese waltz part. Di-da-da, 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 di-da-da. All of those agree really nice with each other. But then it goes to something very rhythmic. Once more. It goes to hemiola. Yam pagading pagadam. How do you conduct that? Should it be 1 and 2 and 3 and, or yam pagadim pagadam pagadim pa? Probably in 3 with some kind of hemiola feel to it. Yam pagadim pagadam pagadim pagadam pagadim pagada. That's for great conductors. I did a little conducting in my earlier years. And then this Brahms is fascinating because he plays around with meter all the time. He likes hemiolas, he likes expanded meters. There's a nice example at the bottom there in the F minor sonata. After the opening, the second bar there. The right hand, I think, is in some kind of multiple meters. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1. So I kind of think it's 3 and then 4, then 3, then 2. The left hand is strictly in 2 all the way. So it makes a fantastic dichotomy there. With Brahms, I do a lot of rebarring for myself. When you rebar, you kind of have to keep track of the original meter, not give it up completely, but also look at the new meter. So right? Does that work? You're conducting, yeah. And it gives a natural feel to the melody because you're going for the high points in each case. If you play it at meter, I think it's a little bit backwards. You lose the A flat because and a lot of people emphasize the G and the E flat, so it comes out. And I think it should be it should go to the long note. Usually going to the long note is going to, finding the goal is the long note. To organize. How am I doing? Here's a really good pulse piece. Brahms Quintet, third movement. Oh, one of the great pieces of all time. So this one is under follow the bass, right? I wrote Bach preludes. You can follow, some of them just follow the bass. That's the heartbeat. The Brahms is fantastic. Starts with pizzicato cello. Wait, can you help me? Can you clap the bass for me? Pum, pum, pum. And absolutely no changes. Let me conduct you. Can I? Okay. 1, 2, ready, and. The end. Let's go, heroes of the German realm, whatever. It's great, isn't it? Later on, we'll get to Alap Wobble. No, we're not there yet. So that's the heartbeat of the music is bum, bum, bum. It's wonderful there. With the pizzicato cello, can't beat it, right? Bum, bum. Wonderful. Subdividing slow, I just did the pathétique. Slow tempos should be subdivided so you feel inside the beat. So it's in 4/4, but I do it in 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2. I don't think you can count it in quarter notes because it's too slow. 2, 3, 4. Not enough inside beats. 1, oops, 1, 2, 3. You want to clap it for me? 1, 2, 3, 4. Works nice. It's in 8 to the bar, I think. You have to feel it that way. And then I have Scarbo there, but it's too hard to play. That one is in 1. It's a fast 3, but 2, 3. Fast tempo should be more in 1, right? In fact, it's too hard to play. Where's that? Second line is a hemiola. Oops. That's in 1. If you count in 3, it's ridiculous. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 is too many. So fast tempos can go in 1 and slow tempos can go in 8 or subdivided, right? To feel the insides of the beats. Learning to conduct, we already learned that. I have some piano duos that I coach, and I'm trying to teach them to play together. And for pianists, that's a challenge. I'm going to run out of time, but I'm having fun. So, and at the end of the year at Oberlin, we do a kind of a pop concert with 8 pianos, and the last piece is for 16 pianists at 8 pianos. It's an arrangement of a Rossini overture arranged by Czerny for 16 pianists. We call it 160 fingers. Okay, and I conduct that, and I think I've got my pianist trained to come in when the beat is there. Because we're all soloists and we're kind of like being creative and all this stuff. And you're an orchestra, for God's sake. So yeah, so they've learned to play at the bottom of the beat, when it's on. So now we got 16 pianists playing together. I'm very proud of them. We have 8 faculty, and then we have 8 graduating seniors. So it's a lot of fun. But to get pianists to play, to follow a beat, it's really important. So my duo pianists are playing the Mozart 2-piano sonata. Right? They can never get those first 2 notes together. So somebody has to give some upbeat with the chin. 3, 4. If I were conducting, I would give 3, 4, 3, 4. Sometimes in 2, sometimes in 4. So you have to learn how to conduct with your chin. If you do 2 pianos, And then you got some nice pulse in the bottom. So conducting with your chin, that's one of the skills we have, because our hands are busy. Rhythm and phrasing, only 2 small topics left. You can't think about all the combinations of forces and patterns that make rhythm what it is. Sometimes I think being a drummer is helpful. Being a conductor is helpful. Being a drummer is helpful. How does drumming work? Like I've heard you're going to hear it tomorrow, Mr. Goodyear. I'm sure it'll be fantastic. But you hear the theme of the Greek concerto. How does it go? sorry. It's arrhythmical. It doesn't have good bite to it. Bum, 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 bim, bum, you got some dotted rhythms, you got some even quarter notes and so on. So maybe being a drummer is okay. Can everybody do that on the table? 3, 4, bum, bum, ba bum, bum, and beam, ba bum, bum. One more time, ready, and bum, bum, ba bum, bum, and beam, ba bum, bum. Very good. Good orchestra. Okay. I'm sure all of you as teachers do that, but tapping out the rhythm on the piano lid is a good idea because you feel you don't worry about the notes and everything, you just feel, right? So being a drummer is good. I think also being a singer is good, being a dancer is good, being a wind player is good, you know, it's just thinking in different ways about how the music goes, you know. I talk about grouping. Let's see, how are my examples going here? Yeah. I said before that the long note is the goal, usually, unless it's marked otherwise. So when you have a rhythm like the Wonder Fantasy, the groups of 3 should go together. Pa, 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 pim, pa, ga, di, ga, di, ga, dim. And I've had students who play pam, pa, pa, pam, pa, pa, pa. The long note is not long enough. It should be pam, pa, pa, pam, pa, pa, pam, pa, ga, di, ga, di, ga, di. There's a little bit of a holding or something on the long note. It makes it very vital. And the 2 8 notes should be lighter. They're upbeats to the long notes, so it shouldn't be. It's horrible, isn't it? Yum, pa, pa, pam, 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 pa, 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 bing, pa, pa, bing, pa, 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 bing. Pa, 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 pa. They hang together. The fast notes are leading to the long note, and the long note sits for a little bit. Pa, 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 pa. It's very cool. I'm playing the Les Adieux Sonata tonight. I need to practice, but they have some fast notes that hang together, like in Takatam, pakatam, 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 pakatam. Some people think that rhythm represents the chariot with horses pulling away from Vienna. Takatam, pakatam, pakatam, pakatam. I'm not sure it's true, but it helps. Yam, paradam, 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 ba. Maybe it's like horse. Pakatam, 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 pakatam. It's nice. The fast notes lead to the shorter notes. What have we got? Schumann, example 10, syncopation. I'm going to ask your help for this one. If you like to fool around with syncopations, and you wonder why he did it, because if you think that the first note there, example 10, is the downbeat, it's okay. Right? But if you feel the syncopation, it changes it a little bit. So what's the tempo here? Could you clap on each downbeat, which is the tied note? So you can help me. I'll give you 2 bars. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Okay, I'm getting some upbeats. Just downbeats, and 1, and 1, and 1, right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 1. right? So there's no note there, but now string players can feel this better than us because they can lean into the beat. They can go tee-rom, tee-rom. They can do stuff with their bow, but we can't because we don't have that. So where you feel it in your stomach, tee-rom, and it really changes it because if the downbeat would be on the upbeat, it would be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. This one, and 1, and 1, and 1, and 1, and 1. So it's sitting there somewhere in your gut, and it feels different. It feels like offbeat, right? It should not fall into feeling like it's on the beat, because otherwise it's kind of boring. We lean into the missing beat. It's nice. This is a nice syncopation in the Chopin fantasy. So everything is offbeat. So fortunately the bass is there to give us a beat, but you feel everything is like leaning towards the missing beat. It's really a lot of fun. Okay, so does anybody know what alap wobble means? Okay, it's a secret, but you'll know it. It's okay. It's, again, my teacher Fleischer invented it. He said the secret to good rhythm is to play as late as possible without being late. ALAPWBL, or WOBL if you want to. So it's a fantastic concept. Play as late as possible without, so you play on the latter side of the beat. And I have here an example from Paganini variations. And sometimes it helps to feel the missing beat. Let's see. So if you don't play as late as possible without being late, it sounds like this. It has no tension to it. But if you play I'm not good. Whatever. And the orchestra could late. Without being late. Okay, so this side should clap the beats, and this side should clap the off beats. So you're going to go 1, 2, 1, and you're going to play bum. So we have, right, ready? 2 bars for nothing, and in the middle, take your pick, okay? Ready, and don't rush me. Beep, bop, bop. It's great. Thank you. Thank you. Right? Yum, bim, bum, bim, bum. He does an example with the Song of the Toreador, Mr. Fleischer. Dum, bim, ba-dum. I'm exaggerating. Yum, beep, ba-dum, bum, bim, ba-dum, ba-dum. Yum, bum, ba-dee, bum, bum, be-dum. Yum, bum, ba-da-da, ba-ba-bee-da, ba-ba-bee. Dum, bum, ba-dum, bum, ba-deem, 2, 3, 4, da, ba-ba-ba-ba, ba-ba, and it's just great. It's so alap wobble. That's the new sub-religion after tempo giusto. I love it. Play as late as possible without. It mostly works for things that are kind of pulsating, and I mean you can't really do it in a Chopin nocturne or anything like that. But something it's just perfection. And very often students want to jump the gun. Bum, bim, bum, bim, bum, bim, bum, bim. Not bum, bim, bum, bum. Has no backbone, right? Yeah. And then I have some examples of silence, which are really, what did I think Schnabel said, it's not the notes that are important, it's the silence between the notes. Nice. Again, advanced examples, but that's the way. This is, okay, time to take down another of our gods. Sorry. There's a late recording of Pollini playing Opus 2 number 3 of Beethoven. So in the second movement, you've got some fantastic silences. Silence. I waited too long. But silence is golden. It's wonderful. Well, Mr. Pollini, for some reason, I don't know if he's bored or he's not thinking, he plays. He doesn't wait for the silences. You can hear on YouTube. I mean, he's a brilliant virtuoso, he plays great, but he just forgot to count. I mean, like we yell at our students saying, count for God's sake, 2, 3, 4, alap wobble, 2, 3. He just doesn't count, Been around too long, played too many concerts. Interruption is fun, feeling like you're suddenly cut off. In the Wanderer is a tim ba ba bam ba ba bim da tim ba ba bum bum. Yum, right? It's fun. Because you're in control, The audience is like bum 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 ba ba ba. So sudden stops, right? It's really fun. And some conductors conduct dim bum 3, 4 pa, and others do, which is better, bim bum pa. So stop, new upbeat. So it changes, right? So I love silences. This is too hard. The list, example 13. I call it a kicker. So it's a yum, papa, papa, And you're going to clap for me? Not too fast, because it's hard to play. Ready? 1, 2. So the beat is missing. So jump, it's in the guts. We're never going to get to phrasing. You're going to have to invite me next year. Talk about phrasing. What I did in example 14 is, I won't talk about it too much, but I played through the melody. This is a kind of what they call an infinite melody. It's really gorgeous. And I tried to find the phrasing. And I have a way of marking it that's one of my students taught me. Where it says 4 there, I put a slash there after number 4. Bingo. Is it? There you go. Oh, battery died. I'll speak loud. Carla, your batteries.
I'll let you know that he said.
Yeah, this was a big one. So I should use it.
Yeah, but she said for a second.
But that one's dead also.
So I did, because we left it on.
So what I do is I try to figure out how many bars are in a phrase, and I put a little number at the beginning of the phrase. Very useful, even for simple tunes. So this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That one I might mark 2 plus 2. Maybe not. 4. Here I got kind of in a dilemma because that seems it. That one looks like the beginning of something, but it's also the end of the previous one. So they kind of hang together. It's either 3 plus 1 or 3 and then 4. What do you think? 4. It's backwards. So it's, so you got a one bar that's both the end of one and the beginning of the other, right? That was 2 plus 2. But one of them is double duty. It's a good exercise. Wow. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up pretty soon. Play the melody. And I usually like to play it a little bit on the fast side so I get the kind of overview of the thing. So this one I played at higher speed. If you play, I mean, that's beautiful. It gives you a sense of the phrasing better. And then I mark the phrasing. Sometimes I don't know what the phrasing is, and I have to kind of fool around, like 3 plus 1 or 4, whatever. Sometimes some bars do double duty. They're the end of the previous, but also beginning of the new. I do that pretty much with all pieces that have long melodies in them. Should wrap it up, right? Rebarring, we already talked about. So at the end, I putting it all together. I don't know. I just thought something really, really beautiful. It's Mozart A major concerto second movement, F sharp minor. It's just the most divine music ever written. I like it because it's in 6/8. It's marked, I think it's marked andante. It has a bass that's 1, 3, 4, 6, 13. So it has that nice uneven 6/8 meter. And the melody is a Siciliano. So it's the person to listen to is Radulupu playing that movement. It's just like from heaven. It's got a clarinet solo in it.